A floating city worth $13 billion cuts through the Caribbean Sea right now. 4,000 sailors live, work, and prepare for combat on a vessel longer than 3 football fields. The USS Gerald R. Ford isn't just the world's largest aircraft carrier, it's the most advanced warship ever built. And at this very moment, it's operating in hostile waters, launching fighters, tracking threats, and proving why America invested more money in this single ship than most countries spend on their entire military. What happens inside this massive war machine during real combat operations will shock you. The Ford-class carrier represents everything that separates modern naval warfare from the past. While older carriers relied on steam and cables, this beast uses electromagnetic catapults and computer systems that would make a space station jealous. But all that technology means nothing without the men and women who operated around the clock in conditions most people couldn't. Imagine. Let's take you inside. Introduction. The USS Gerald R. Ford measures 1,106 feet from bow to stern. It displaces 100,000 tons when fully loaded. 2 nuclear reactors power everything from the flight deck lights to the electromagnetic launch system that fires jets into the sky. But numbers don't tell the real story. The real story is about life aboard this ship when it's deployed for combat operations, when every decision matters, when sleep becomes a luxury, and when 4,400 people work as one unit to project American power across the globe. This isn't a cruise ship. There are no pools, no casinos, no vacation vibes. This is a weapon system that happens to carry people. And right now, in December 2025, the Ford is actively deployed on Operation Southern Spear in the Caribbean, hunting drug traffickers and demonstrating force near Venezuela. Before that, it spent over 2 months in the Mediterranean during the Israel-Hamas conflict, launching over 10,000 sorties while maintaining constant readiness for escalation. The crew doesn't get breaks during deployments like these. They work in shifts that never stop. The flight deck operates 24 hours when needed. The nuclear reactors never sleep. The radar systems constantly scan for threats. And somewhere in the middle of all this machinery and mission focus, real people are living their lives, eating, sleeping, staying sane, and doing jobs most Americans will never understand. If you believe our military deserves recognition for this level of dedication, type "proud" in the comments below. The Steel City at Sea. Walking onto the USS Gerald R. Ford for the first time feels like stepping into a small city that someone built inside a metal canyon. Corridors stretch in every direction, narrow and lined with pipes, cables, and equipment. Everything is painted in shades of gray and white. There are no windows below the flight deck. No natural light reaches most of the ship. The crew lives in berthing areas stacked with triple-high bunks. Each sailor gets roughly 2 feet of width and 6 feet of length. That's it. That's home for months at a time. Personal belongings fit in a single locker about the size of a school backpack. Privacy doesn't exist. You sleep inches from the person above you with dozens of others in the same room. The constant hum of machinery and ventilation systems becomes white noise you learn to ignore. But the Ford does something different from older carriers. Thanks to automation and advanced systems, it needs 600 fewer crew members than a Nimitz-class carrier. That means slightly more space per person, slightly better living conditions. The Navy designed the berthing areas with better ventilation and lighting. They added more personal storage. Small improvements, but they matter when you're living shoulder to shoulder for 8 months straight. Food becomes one of the few comforts available. The carrier operates multiple galleys that serve meals around the clock. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and midnight rations for the night shift workers. The menus rotate, but after a few weeks, everything starts tasting similar. Still, the cooks do their best. On holidays, they prepare special meals. On Thanksgiving during the 2023 deployment, the crew ate turkey and all the traditional sides while floating in the Mediterranean. The ship has a small store where sailors can buy toiletries, snacks, and basic supplies. There's a barber shop, a small gym, a chapel, a post office. Everything a small town needs, compressed into available spaces within a warship designed primarily for combat, not comfort. And then there's the flight deck, the most dangerous workplace in the world. The flight deck, where inches mean life or death. The flight deck of the USS Gerald R. Ford spans 4.5 acres. During combat operations, it transforms into controlled chaos. F-35C Lightning II, stealth fighters, and FA-18 Super Hornets line up for launch. E-2D Hawkeyes prepare for surveillance missions. EA-18G Growlers ready their electronic warfare systems. And in the middle of it all, flight deck crews in color-coded jerseys orchestrate launches and recoveries with split-second precision. Each jersey color has a specific meaning. Yellow jerseys handle aircraft movement and catapult operations. Green jerseys manage the catapult and arresting gear. Purple jerseys refuel aircraft. Red jerseys handle weapons and ordnance. Blue jerseys drive the tractors that move planes around. Brown jerseys supervise maintenance. White jerseys ensure safety and oversee operations. Everyone knows their role. Everyone trusts everyone else. They have to. The electromagnetic aircraft launch system, called EMALS, is one of the Ford's revolutionary features. Unlike steam catapults on older carriers, EMALS uses electromagnetic energy to accelerate aircraft from 0 to 170 miles per hour in less than 3 seconds. It's smoother on the aircraft, more efficient, and allows the Ford to launch 160 sorties per day, 25% more than Nimitz-class carriers. But here's what that really means for the crew. More launches means more work. The flight deck operates in cycles. Launch aircraft, recover aircraft, refuel them, rearm them, perform maintenance checks, launch again. During the Israel-Hamas deployment in 2023, the Ford logged over 10,396 sorties. That's an average of more than 40 launches and recoveries every single day for 8 months straight. Before we dive deeper into what makes this ship so special, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. Over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing. It costs you nothing but makes a huge difference to us. Now let's talk about what happens when things go wrong at sea. Combat readiness and threat response. During the Mediterranean deployment in 2023, tensions ran high. The carrier strike group positioned itself to deter regional escalation after Hamas attacked Israel. Intelligence reports suggested potential threats from multiple directions: Iranian proxies, Hezbollah in Lebanon, unstable actors who might miscalculate and drag the region into wider war. The Ford's Combat Information Center, called CIC, became the nerve center for the entire strike group. Located deep inside the ship, away from external threats, CIC is where officers monitor radar screens, track aircraft, coordinate with other ships, and make split-second decisions about force posture and response options. The Ford carries sophisticated defense systems. The AN-SPY-3 and AN-SPY-4 radar arrays can track hundreds of targets simultaneously. The ship's self-defense system coordinates responses to incoming threats. The evolved Sea Sparrow missile system provides close-range protection. The SLQ-32 electronic warfare suite jams enemy sensors and communications. But the most powerful defensive asset is the carrier air wing. F-35C fighters provide stealth capabilities and advanced sensors. Super Hornets deliver multi-role strike and air superiority. Growlers disrupt enemy communications and radar. E-2D Hawkeyes provide airborne early warning, seeing threats hundreds of miles away. During combat operations, the carrier maintains constant flight operations. Aircraft cycle through combat air patrols, surveillance missions, and strike packages. Tanker aircraft extend the range of fighters. The entire choreography happens simultaneously, managed by air traffic controllers, who sound like auctioneers calling out positions, altitudes, and instructions. The 2023 deployment extension added 76 extra days at sea. The crew expected to come home in November. Instead, they stayed until January 2024. Families missed holidays. Sailors missed births, weddings, and funerals. But the mission required the Ford's presence. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin personally ordered the extensions because the situation demanded America's most capable carrier on station. Captain Rick Burgess, the Ford's commanding officer during that deployment, later said the extensions came at the perfect time. The crew had hit their stride. Proficiency was at its peak. "We were the right ship at the right time," he explained. The Ford demonstrated its value in a real-world crisis, proving all that $13 billion investment actually works when it matters most. The human cost of deployment. Living on a carrier during combat operations takes a toll most civilians never consider. The work schedule is relentless. Sailors work 12-hour shifts, sometimes longer when flight operations demand it. They might work nights for weeks, then switch to days. Sleep schedules get destroyed. Exhaustion becomes normal. Mental health is a constant challenge. You can't leave. You can't take a day off. You're surrounded by the same people in the same metal corridors. For months, arguments happen, stress builds. The Navy provides counselors and chaplains, but resources are limited. Communication with home becomes precious. The Ford has internet access, though it's restricted and monitored for security. Sailors can email family. Some can do video calls when bandwidth allows, but it's not like calling home from a business trip. Communications depend on satellite links. Operational security limits what they can say, and the time zones make scheduling difficult when you're operating in the Caribbean or Mediterranean while family is spread across the United States. Captain Matt Mulcahy, the Ford's executive officer during the maiden deployment, watched young sailors transform during those 8 months. Many had never deployed before. They were green, unsure, learning on the job. By the end, they were veterans. They had found their confidence, their competence. That transformation, he said, was one of the most rewarding aspects of the deployment. The military community understands sacrifice in ways civilian society often doesn't. These sailors chose to serve. They volunteered for this life. They knew deployments would be hard, but knowing something intellectually and living it are different things. When you miss your child's first steps because you're operating fighter jets in hostile waters, the sacrifice becomes personal and permanent. Yet they do it anyway. Why? For some, it's patriotism. For others, it's the mission. Many talk about the camaraderie, the bonds formed when you work extreme jobs with people who have your back no matter what. And some simply believe in what the carrier represents. American power projection, the ability to respond to crises anywhere in the world, the deterrent that prevents wars from starting. Our military families sacrifice alongside those who serve. They deserve our recognition and support. Technology that changes everything. The Ford carries 23 new technologies that separate it from every carrier that came before. Beyond emails, there's the Advanced Arresting Gear, AAG, that recovers landing aircraft. Traditional arresting systems used hydraulics and cables that required constant maintenance. AAG uses electromagnetic systems with fewer moving parts, reducing maintenance by 30%. The weapons elevators move ordnance from the magazines deep in the ship to the flight deck. Older carriers used deck edge elevators that took minutes per cycle. The Ford has 11 advanced weapons elevators that move faster and carry more. This matters when you're trying to maintain high sortie rates. Faster ordnance movement means fighters spend less time waiting and more time flying missions. The island, the tower structure on the side of the flight deck, is smaller and positioned further back than on Nimitz-class carriers. This creates more usable flight deck space. More space means more aircraft ready to launch at any given moment. The two A-1B nuclear reactors generate 3 times more electrical power than the reactors on Nimitz-class carriers. This power feeds emails, advanced radar systems, and future weapons like directed energy systems, lasers, that the Navy plans to install on future Ford-class carriers. Automation reduces crew requirements by 600 sailors. Systems that required manual operation now run on computers. Damage control systems monitor the entire ship automatically, detecting fires or leaks faster than human patrols. This doesn't eliminate sailors, it frees them to focus on higher value tasks. All this technology had problems during development. Emails failed repeatedly during testing. The weapons elevators took years to get working properly. When the Ford commissioned in 2017, none of the 11 elevators were fully operational. It took until 2019 to get them all working. Senator John McCain called the decision to pack 23 new technologies onto one ship the original sin of the program. Critics said the Ford would never work. They said the Navy wasted $13 billion. They compared it to the F-35 program, another expensive weapon system plagued by delays and cost overruns. But the 2023 deployment proved the critics wrong. The technology worked. The emails launched over 10,000 sorties without catastrophic failure. The AAG recovered aircraft safely. The weapons elevators moved ordnance efficiently. The Ford validated its design in real-world operations under real-world stress. Current operations and future missions. Right now, the USS Gerald R. Ford is operating in the Caribbean as the centerpiece of Operation Southern Spear. The mission: dismantle drug trafficking organizations and counter narco-terrorism threatening the homeland. The Carrier Strike Group entered the Caribbean in November 2025 with dozens of military aircraft and 4,000 sailors. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth directed the deployment personally. The Trump administration increased pressure on Venezuela's leader, Nicolas Maduro, who faces U.S. narco-terrorism charges. The Ford's presence sends a clear message. America has the capability and will to project power in its own hemisphere. Military strikes have already occurred. At least 43 people killed in operations targeting drug trafficking vessels, according to AFP tallies based on U.S. figures. F-35 stealth fighters and Navy ships participated in strikes on boats allegedly operated by criminal organizations. This is different from the Mediterranean deployment. In the Mediterranean, the Ford provided deterrence and surveillance. In the Caribbean, it's actively supporting kinetic operations. Aircraft launch from the flight deck to hunt targets. Intelligence gathering happens constantly. The entire strike group operates with the expectation of engaging threats. Venezuela claims it possesses 5,000 Russian surface-to-air missiles capable of threatening U.S. aircraft. Whether that's true remains unclear, but the threat assessment changes crew behavior. Alert status increases. Defensive systems stay active. Pilots fly with the knowledge that real threats exist beyond training scenarios. The Ford will eventually return home to Naval Station Norfolk in Virginia. It will undergo maintenance. The crew will rotate. Some sailors will transfer to new assignments. Others will stay aboard for the next deployment. The ship will train, recertify systems, and prepare for the next mission. 3 more Ford-class carriers are under construction. The USS John F. Kennedy will enter service in 2027. The USS Enterprise follows, then the USS Doris Miller. Each will incorporate lessons learned from the Ford's deployments. Each will be slightly better, slightly more refined. Over the next 50 years, these carriers will replace the aging Nimitz-class fleet. They will carry American air power to crisis points around the world. They will deter aggression, support allies, and demonstrate that the United States maintains the ability to respond anywhere, anytime. Conclusion. The USS Gerald R. Ford represents more than $13 billion of taxpayer money. It represents American innovation, military capability, and the dedication of thousands of sailors who operated under conditions most people will never experience. From the flight deck to the reactor rooms, from combat operations to daily maintenance, life aboard the Ford during combat operations is intense, demanding, and crucial to national security. These men and women deserve our support and recognition. If this video gave you a new appreciation for what our military does, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. The people who serve on ships like the Ford protect freedoms we often take for granted. The least we can do is understand their sacrifice.